So individual health wellness to kind of team wellness. Um, so I've done some research into this area for the last few years, and there's a few terms I'm going to throw out. Right, there's things like hero culture. There is tribal knowledge. There's lack of intimacy with your customer or with the direction that you're moving in. Um, there
Mhm.
is miscommunications and sort of just being kept in the dark or not being in the loop. There's lack of know-how or training or just like tacit knowledge around doing this. Um, and there's burnout, right? There's like, gosh, I've just got way too many tickets assigned to me or whatnot. Um,
Mhm.
and so all this kind of happens in a team, right? And maybe it's not evenly distributed, maybe it is, but it happens within a team. It happens across teams. Have you noticed um, any of these things in general, and how do we kind of combat these? Is it more kumbaya moments? Is it more Friday afternoon kind of lunches, whatever, blah blah blah? Like, yeah,
Yeah. Well, yes, I have noticed a lot of those things, and I think I've seen them get increasingly strained in the pandemic.
yeah,
So a few things I've seen are, um, like, for example, I work in a larger department called real estate and workplace services, where
yeah,
we're connected to facilities, we're connected to our commercial real estate arm. And so you might question, like, wait, well, what were you guys doing? You shut down all the buildings. And so it turns out it takes a lot of work to safely get people out of buildings in a pandemic, shut down all the systems, but do so in a way that the buildings are still maintained. Figure out how to set up minimal staffing for the buildings so that they keep going through the pandemic. And and then for my team, it was, if we have all our gyms shut down and our massage rooms and our meditation spaces, but we're still responsible for people's health and well-being, how are we going to reach them? And so we had to figure out, how do we pivot as many of our offerings as we can to digital overnight? And so it's kind of like the remit of the organization didn't change. The constraints changed. And then because of that, the total amount of work, I don't know if it went up or down, but it didn't redistribute evenly. It wasn't just like, well, this was my non-pandemic job, now I have a pandemic job. It was like some people suddenly were a bit underutilized, and then some people were massively overutilized. And so we saw this strain appear across the organization, where first it started with just, it was a workload problem. And then it was like, with all this movement and direction change, like, our leadership, they can't keep up with how dynamic the environment is. And so they're trying to communicate as much as they can on what's going on to the team. We've just reoriented, we're doing stand-ups, all that stuff. It's still not enough. And so now you start to go into attribution errors, where it's, hey, leadership's not being transparent, or they're not doing a good job communicating, but it's kind of a lose-lose situation. And then it starts to seep into the culture, and you start to um, burn some of the points in the relationship bank that you built up while times were good.
yeah,
And so that's not unique to my team. It's everyone at every company I've talked to is experiencing this right
yeah,
now.
yeah.